Sporto.
時空を超える音速の旅へようこそ。今回の F1 レジェンズは1985年7月7日七夕の日曜日に皆様をご招待いたします第7戦フランスグランプリです。場所はポール・リカールサーキット。案内人は小倉重則さんです。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
見てますとやはりこの時期暑そうですね。
そうですね、本当に真夏の暑さの中での開催で、お客さんもビーチに行くか、サーキットに来るかという状態ですね。
さあそして予選2番手アイルトン・セダ、シーズン4回のポールポジション、今回は叶いませんでしたがこれで6戦連続のフロントローです。
はい、もう予選もポール目前だったんで
Whole time was 8 seconds inside the lap record on this very, very fast circuit. And one of the problems that the teams are having is to decide the optimum boost pressure, because there's going to be an enormous strain on engines for about 20 seconds flat out along the Mistral straights. It's going to be very, very hot indeed, and we're shortly going off on the final parade lap before the start of those 53 race miles, with on the right hand side of your picture in pole position for only the fourth time in his career, Keke Rosberg, who won the last Grand Prix in his Williams Honda with its vastly improved V6 turbocharged engine at Detroit, that was. On the left of your picture in the front is Ayrton Senna, who only just missed the fifth pole position in 7 races this year yesterday. Behind Rosberg, number 27, is Michele Alboreto, the World Championship leader in the Ferrari. And then behind Ayrton Senna, right behind the Brazilian, is Alain Prost leading away. Then Nelson Piquet, Niki Lauda, and off they go on the parade lap.
Yes, here's the start-finish straight to which I referred. They're running down now, and then they're flat out in top gear, and they come into very quick left-right S-bend, which they take very close to flat out. That's something like 170, 180 miles an hour. There goes the left-hand bit, then it swings round to the right, and as soon as they're out of it, the right-hand part, they're on the brakes here, down into a left-right second gear, very relatively slow corner, taking us about 80 or 90 miles an hour, then a short squirt down to the right-hand hairpin. This is the hairpin, the right-hand hairpin, that's in first gear. Again, a short squirt, well, we're back on the hairpin now. We go around the right-hand hairpin, and it really is a marvellous circuit. This circuit Paul Ricard, which was built in around 1970 with very modern facilities, and it's a huge area. Car parking is no problem here. It really is quite a joy, and eat your hearts out. We're sitting down on the French Riviera, and the beach has been a very pleasant part of practice and everything else. We've been able to practice finishing at 2 o'clock and everything. The cars now weaving to warm their tyres up, get a bit of action into the tyres. This is the long straight, over a mile long. In practice, I think the quickest car through the speed trap was that of Mark Surer, the Brabham of Mark Surer, which was registering 338 kilometres an hour, which is something like just over 210 miles an hour. And it is here that Mansell had his accident. The end of the straight, they go into a very quick right-hand corner, and Mansell went off into the fences there with his some sort of rear-end failure around the car. Now we come into the twisty infield. This is another busy section for the drivers. Hard work. They come into a double right-hander, which is quite a difficult corner in a moment. through the left-hander, third gear left-hander, and accelerating round this straight, and then they come down into the final corner. That's Rosberg leading the field, and he's now slowed it right down because they're coming up to the last corner, and as usual, goes left, and then there's a right-hand first gear corner, and that's out on the start-finish straight. He slowed it right down to, as usual, to compress the field up, because particularly when it's hot like today, he doesn't want to arrive on the grid too soon with the field strung out, because the red light doesn't go on until all the cars are stationary and in position, and if Rosberg arrives too soon, the temperature will climb fast when the car is stationary. There's no air going through the radiators. Remember, they have no fans, so they depend on moving to keep cool. And of course, the other thing is that one has the car in gear, because you can't risk fumbling for a gear at the last minute, and the clutch is dragging a bit, and that starts to get hot. So sitting on the start line in ready-to-leave position is not good for too long.
Stefan Beloff is 25th and last on the grid. Only 25 starters in this race, with Nigel Mansell out of it. Keke Rosberg in his 89th Grand Prix, 53 laps, 191.3 miles an hour, and the green light tells Derek Ongaro it's go. Niki Lauda has blasted through right up alongside Alain Prost, who was in 4th position, and now they're through the Verrerie bends, which are about 160 miles an hour on a flying lap, and it is Keke Rosberg leading. It is Ayrton Senna in 3rd position. It's Nelson Piquet in the Pirelli-equipped Brabham, who has forced his way up into 3rd position and is challenging Ayrton Senna. And then it's Alboreto 4th, De Angelis 5th, Lauda is in 6th position, Berger was 7th, and Alain Prost is down to 8th position.
Well, that was a pretty clean start. There were a couple of cars that towards the back of the grid that appeared to struggle to get away, but everybody got away in the end. And there's Piquet in 3rd place behind Senna, but not at the moment challenging him on the straight. They come to the end of the straight, which is where most of the passing gets done here. But we've got to watch for the McLarens in this race. They haven't enjoyed the runaway success this year that they enjoyed last year. But here they were 1 and 2 in the warm-up this morning in race condition. They qualified well, and they are generally expected by all their rivals today to be the men to beat.
Coming up to complete lap 1, Keke Rosberg leading, and the significant thing to me is the way that Niki Lauda, this early on the first lap, is starting to force his way up through the field. Anyway, coming out now onto the start and finish straight, leading up to the Verrerie. It's Rosberg leading, Senna in 2nd position, and Keke Rosberg, as expected, because, by the way, he is on B compound tyres, an inspired choice at Detroit, a comparatively soft compound, because a lot of people are fitting harder tyres here. So Rosberg there leading on the 2nd lap. In 2nd position, it is Ayrton Senna. There he is. 3rd is Nelson Piquet. 4th is Alboreto. 5th, De Angelis. 6th, Niki Lauda. 7th, Prost. 8th, De Angelis. 9th, Berger. 10th, Warwick. 11th, Tombay. And in 12th position was Thierry Boutsen. Now the long drag down the straight, and you notice the way Senna is watching Nelson Piquet very carefully in his mirrors. This is tremendously heartening to see the Brabham BMW, which has probably got the most powerful engine in this race, coming good, because the BMW 4-cylinder turbocharged 1.5-litre engine of the Brabham produces enormous horsepower. You can see there's 3 men now at the front, easing away a little from Michele Alboreto in 4th position. Those 3 men being the Detroit Grand Prix winner, Keke Rosberg. He's pretty confident. You heard Frank Williams earlier on saying he thought McLaren were going to be in with a good shout, and there's no doubt that they are. But I'm expecting Keke Rosberg to come in for a tyre change. Will he be able to build up enough of a lead? Lap 2. So on to the Verrerie bend again. no change for those vital first 3 places. Here they come, Rosberg, Senna, and it's the Williams Honda leading the JPS Lotus with its V6 E15 Renault engine, then the BMW-powered Brabham of Nelson Piquet, the world champion in 1981 and 83. Rosberg looking well in command. Alboreto still 4th, De Angelis 5th, Lauda 6th, Prost 7th, the Cesaris in 8th position, and the Renault-powered cars are well up. The Ligiers are benefiting from and look at the heat haze as they go underneath the bridge and under the banner. The Renault-powered cars and the Ligiers in particular, Senna waving a hand across his face there, are benefiting from those vastly improved Pirelli tires.
Yeah, Senna would have just been cleaning his visor then. It may be that there's a little bit of oil or water or something coming out of Rosberg's car. The car, of course, topped up with all their levels. They tend to throw a bit of muck out. And what he may do, he might have been using the sleeve of his overall just to wipe the visor, or he may do, I used to carry a rag which I would just put down in my lap where it can't go anywhere, you can't lose it, so I just have a rag always to wipe my visor with when it got dirty. I didn't like tear off.
This is the end of the 3rd lap coming up, and at the present moment, with Jacques Lafitte in trouble already, it looks as though they had too much turbo boost on the Ligier, and on lap 3, Jacques Lafitte has blown a turbo from the look of it and is seemingly out of the race, with Derek Warwick now in 9th position, the leading British driver, and off goes the Ligier, out go the fire extinguishers, out of the car goes Jacques Lafitte in what may well be his last ever French Grand Prix, because there are rumours about his retirement. Martin Brundle's doing well in the Tyrrell with its Renault turbo engine. He is in 18th position at the present moment, and Jonathan Palmer, who I think will be lucky if he finishes this race in the Zach Speed, because they had a lot of trouble both in practice and in the warm-up. They haven't got the engine to their satisfaction, is in 20th place. But Rosberg leads. Here's Senna in the yellow helmet, 2nd, and then Piquet behind him. No change in the first 3. Alboreto is still there in 4th place.
Well, we've got quite a good battle now. We've got 8 cars that are in real contention for the lead. This leading group of 8 that as they come now back onto the main straight, if we look back down the straight, we'll see. Well, we went to here. I'm in the wrong place on the track. We will. Yes, there you can see them all, and it's very early days. So these 8 are all potential contenders to be up there at the end of the race. It's particularly heartening, as Murray just said, to see Nelson Piquet going so well in the Brabham. It's been a very dry year for him as far as results are concerned, and the #1 driver in the business needs a bit of results. And in fact, Pirelli have produced a new front tyre, which apparently has made a good deal of difference and a great improvement to the Brabham.
Well, you probably saw that Andrea De Cesaris, talking of that, is in 8th place. Well, was in 8th place, because out goes De Cesaris as soon as I mention him. De Cesaris now out, so the Ligier mechanics are going to be able to pack up very early indeed. Jacques Lafitte out on lap 3 and De Cesaris out on lap 4. Both the Ligiers out of the French Grand Prix. The whole French team missing, and there's Lauda ahead of his teammate Prost, and the order as they go down the long, hazy Mistral Straight is, as you see, Rosberg leading, Senna 2nd, Piquet just coming into your picture now in 3rd position. In the Scarlet Ferrari, 4th is Alboreto, 5th is the JPS of De Angelis. Then Lauda, and Alboreto has blown something. That will be a turbo, I suspect. Alboreto, and this is indicative of the heat and the pressure of this French Grand Prix. Set 20 seconds, that's the World Championship leader seemingly out, but we need confirmation to see him come out. But now Senna goes through, still 2nd. Is Alboreto out? Well, if he's not out, he's effectively slowed right down, and I expect to see a new 4th place man, Elio De Angelis, any moment.
Yeah, I think he was pulling off, Murray, because you saw he put his arm up, and that usually means that you're slowing down the signals to following drivers if you're in trouble and no longer part of the race, so to give you a wide berth. So I would say but that is by Alboreto, and the two McLarens are now right up, hounding De Angelis, and the pressure is starting from the McLaren.
Fourth, fifth and sixth absolutely together. The new fourth man, Elio De Angelis. There's the first three. Alboreto is coming into the pits opposite us as you look at Senna and Piquet on their sixth lap in this 53-lap race. In second and third place is new fourth place man De Angelis. New fifth place man Niki Lauda, who is right behind De Angelis and has got Alain Prost in sixth position right behind him, and there they are. Prost. He's won the French Grand Prix twice already.
Now we're going to have a chance to have a look. Well, that's Senna and Piquet attacking. There's Rosberg leading, but the interesting battle now, and Piquet is getting up almost in position to challenge, and he's having a go. And it's only a little stab on the brakes there at the end of the straight, and he just didn't have the space. But Niki Lauda was very, very well placed behind De Angelis to have a go as well.
And while Senna and Piquet are holding each other up, Keke Rosberg is getting a bit of a break. There's 2.5 seconds now between the race leader and Senna in second place. And Elio De Angelis has got to watch Lauda and Prost in fifth and sixth positions behind him. The man to watch definitely is Keke Rosberg as you look at Ayrton Senna second. Rosberg, Piquet, the Brazilian veteran these days, because this is his 101st Grand Prix, challenging his countryman newcomer, another Brazilian, number 12, Ayrton Senna, in his 21st Grand Prix. Both very British-built cars, the JPS Lotus and the Brabham with its BMW engine.
Right, now it's where it's very important, and Nelson Piquet is very well placed. He's right behind Senna as they go onto the straight. Ideally, he'd like to be about 3 or 4 right in his slipstream, and I have to say I fancy Nelson Piquet to tow past Senna, but Senna's taking the inside for the corner at the end of the straight. Now, has Senna got the space? Piquet has got half a length, and Piquet finally got the position. He got the help of the slipstream, and Piquet is through clearly into second place.
Well, are we going to see this great racing driver, Nelson Piquet, who clearly feels that he's got the race rubber to enable him to stretch his ability, catch Keke Rosberg. Keke Rosberg, I remind you, on Goodyear B compound tyres, and not many people are expecting him to go the whole race, and we don't know how the Pirelli tyres of Nelson Piquet, these new race construction ones, are going to match up against the Goodyear product. We'll soon see. There's Rosberg, Piquet's gaining.
Yes, I spoke to Gordon Murray this morning about Piquet's tyres, and he said, well, certainly they were expecting to race them, and he said he hoped they'd go the distance and looked a little bit wistful. So I think that they've got a tyre they're happy with. They don't know, because it's a new compound, a new construction front tyre particularly. They don't know whether it'll go the distance. They're keeping their fingers crossed. So let's keep our fingers crossed with them. And here is Niki Lauda climbing all over the back of Elio De Angelis. Now he needs to get closer here. He's got to get on the train. Got this on the left-hander, and he needs to be, as with Piquet, about 3 lengths behind. He's a little bit too far behind, maybe, to have a run at him this time.
Lap 8, Rosberg leads by 2 seconds. Piquet second, Senna third, De Angelis fourth, Lauda fifth, Prost in sixth position. In seventh place is Derek Warwick. Eighth is Gerhard Berger. In ninth position it's Tombe.
And De Angelis was weaving about across the track. That was in order to try and break the toe, which is a fairly childish manoeuvre, because to think that an experienced Grand Prix driver, only a little experience like Niki, isn't going to follow him is what I would call fairly limited thinking. So I don't quite know why he was doing it at his age and maturity, but he did anyway. But that was a Formula 3 trick to break the toe, but it doesn't throw drivers of Lauda's experience off his tail.
Lap 8, Rosberg leads, Piquet second, Senna third, De Angelis fourth, Lauda fifth, Prost in sixth position, and you're looking at the fourth, fifth and sixth now. Warwick is seventh, Berger is eighth, Tornbe is ninth, Boutsen is 10th, Sura is 11th, Johansson is 12th, Patrese is 13th, Cheever is 14th, Barbie is 15th and challenging Cheever. Martin Brundle is now in 16th position in the Tyrrell, ahead of 17th Winkelhock, 18th Alio, 19th Ginzani, 20th Stefan Beloff. And both the Ligiers are out of the race, as is Michele Alboreto.
Well, once more we come to the section of the circuit where it matters to get past. Lauda has got to get himself glued right onto De Angelis' tail, and he seems to be a little bit slower than De Angelis at this section of the circuit, and that is the critical one. He pulls him in around the rest of the lap. He's a little bit better placed than on the last lap. Let's hope they hold that battle for fourth place, and Lauda looked much better placed. Looked as if he was in the tow with a chance of getting by, but of course we're on the wrong cars at the minute.
Oil flag out at the corner there, and as you can see for yourselves, Nelson Piquet is certainly far less than 2 seconds behind Keke Rosberg, the leader in the Williams number 6 on this lap 9 out of 53. Piquet's got the power, no doubt about it, to get past Rosberg. Coming into the pits now is Philippe Alliot. You can't see him, but it's directly opposite us. And as Rosberg, with now Nelson Piquet getting close to a position where he can start to challenge the Finn for the lead, with Senna there in third position.
Yes, I get a feeling that Rosberg's in tire trouble already, because he seems to have gone back to them more than them catching him, because Senna in third place, it just visually looks closer. So I think that it may be that Rosberg was a little bit bold in his choice of tire, but Piquet is certainly all over him, and I don't think Rosberg's going to hold that lead for very much longer. Although, of course, the Williams is also very fast down the straight, but Piquet is well positioned now. Usual story. Good positioning onto the straight. He could have been a length closer to be perfect, but he's in the tow. He's in the hole in the air made by Rosberg's car, which of course means that you go a lot quicker, but he wasn't close enough, and the Williams is fast.
And you saw that there's a McLaren moved up into third position. We're looking very closely at this wonderful scrap between Keke Rosberg, Williams Honda, and Nelson Piquet, Brabham BMW, but in third position, a new driver in one of the McLarens, and it must, I suspect, be Niki Lauda. We'll have to wait to give you a positive identification on that, because Piquet really snapping at the rear tyres of the Williams Honda on this, the 10th lap, coming up to almost 1/5 distance. Jonathan Palmer, by the way, as I expected, is out of the race. He joins Jacques Lafitte de Cesaris and Michele Alboreto, so we've got 4 retirements. And over the line together go the Williams and the Brabham. Now the gap between those two and Niki Lauda, who is now in third place, is 5.4 seconds. Down to fourth position goes De Angelis. In fifth position it is Alain Prost. And so where is Ayrton Senna?
And Rosberg right on the limit. You saw him have a little bit of a twitch and a weave then under braking, and certainly the pressure, and I would say that would confirm my opinion that his tyres are maybe not living with the conditions.
Senna, the answer to my own question, has just gone into the pits. You can't see it. We're right opposite the pit. Now you can. Ayrton Senna on lap 11, who was in third position, comes up. There's Steve Hallam, his race engineer, in the yellow cap bending over the Lotus. They were not at all happy with boost pressure in the warm-up, and it looks as though the Renault engine is in trouble, as of course is Ayrton Senna, and there's a new third place man. But again, significantly, the super reliable Elio De Angelis is there in fourth position behind Lauda.
And he's got him round the outside, so Nelson Piquet goes through into the lead. Rosberg sliding about an awful lot now. So Rosberg in a bit of trouble, and Piquet really looks very good indeed. He looks nice and steady. Here we see it again on action replay. Now you see Rosberg holds it in tight, and then Piquet nips through on the inside. This is the double right-hander, and that was a tremendous piece of driving. Rosberg fought back, but no, I didn't quite understand what was happening with the Lotus team with Senna, because they changed something like 8 turbos on Ayrton Senna's engines this weekend, and they changed another one this morning after the warm-up, and I didn't understand quite why they didn't just change the engine, because an engine that needs that many turbos, I would have thought of the layman had something wrong with it. Of course, I don't know the details, but I would have thought it would have been a lot better to change the engine rather than the turbo, change the whole damn thing. But they didn't, and now he's in the pits in trouble, but of course we can't be sure what that trouble is as yet.
Well, Niki Lauda is closing up. The man who needs the points so badly is the reigning world champion, Niki Lauda, who's only finished in one race this year, 4th place in San Marino. There he is. Alain Prost is now in 3rd place. Elio De Angelis is slipping back through the field. You can see him tucked up behind Alain Prost's McLaren number 2. And there are the 4th and 5th men, which means to say that Derek Warwick will be on the leaderboard very shortly. Lap 12 out of 53, Keke Rosberg has lost his lead to Nelson Piquet, with Niki Lauda catching both of them in 3rd place. Alain Prost is in 4th position. Elio De Angelis is in 5th place, and Derek Warwick is in the points in 6th place.
So a long way to go, and you can pick up the race again at the start of Sunday Grandstand. That's at 1:05 on BBC Two for more live coverage. And then, of course, it's the men's single.
2人がすごく苦労されたデータが全部新しいエンジンの方に生かされてるわけですよね。
なるほど。さあ、そんなウィリアムズ、ホンダ、ロズベルグ現在2番手というポジションです。後ろからしかしマクラーレン、ニキラウダの追い上げ急です。差が縮まっています。今ロズベルグ通過、その後ろからラウダが上がってきました。カーナンバー1番が光っています。さあ、これが前の3台、ちょうどロングストレートに入っていきました。その後ろ、ラウダに離されてなるものかとアラン・プロスト。さあ、今度はロズベルグ対ニキ・ラウダ、どこを切り取ってもワールドチャンピオン同士のバトルっていうのはやっぱり役者が本当に揃った時代っていうのを痛感しますがね。
そうですね、でしかもお互いにその無茶なこともしないし、かといってその虎視眈々とうまく狙いを定めてるっていうのは分かりますもんね。
さあ、ここはじっくり当然カメラも追いかけていくんでしょう。ロズベルグの後ろにピタリと迫ったニキ・ラウダ、しかもウィリアムズ対マクラーレン。そしてトップに立ってからは差を広げていっているのがネルソン・ピケです。ブラバム。さあ、ホームストレート迎えました。
ちょっとこの2人がピケに随分置いてかれちゃった状態ですね。で絶好調なピケなんですが、実はこれ T カーでスタートしてるんですよ。ウォームアップの時に、タイヤの、振動が出たとか、あとギアシフトの調子が良くないということで、それで T カー準備できてるって聞いて、結局 T カーで乗ってったんですね。
それでこの決勝のパフォーマンス。
ただね、ピケはなんか T カー調子いいんですよ。前の年のデトロイトも T カーで出てって優勝してるんで、結構 T カー好きみたいですね。
その辺は巡り合わせから来る、またこのね、今回もいけるかもみたいな気持ち的な部分も大きいのかもしれませんが。
そうですね。そしてブラバムチームは完全にピケ 1人の体制にもう優先しちゃってますから、それも強いいい方向に進んでる理由ですよね。周回遅れのマルティニが出てきましたね。
さあ詰めてきた詰めてきた、その差を詰めてきました。あとはいつでも行ける状況にまで持ってきましたニキ・ラウダ。ここをロズベルグ、そしてウィリアムズ・ホンダはどうしのぎきるか。ミラーに映ってくる相手としては本当に嫌な存在がピタリときました。さあここもこのままいきます。
そうですね、
逆に先頭からはちょっと距離がついてしまいました。
でそのシーズン序盤のホンダエンジンだったらこんなにバトルできなかったんですよね。でもし無理してバトルしたとしても、結局レース終盤の燃費の問題、燃料の問題が大きくのしかかってきましたから、無理できなかったんですね。ところが燃費特性も良くなったエンジンですから、非常にそれでしかも操縦性も良くなりましたんで、十分バトルできる、戦える車になったんですね。
なるほどね、手応え十分にというところでロズベルグが望んでいます。しかも相手は願ってもない存在、ニキ・ラウダ、マクラーレン。そんな2人を前に見ながらというアラン・プロストのレース運び。この後ちょっと離れていますけれども4番手で続いていっています。
マルティニ滑ってますね。
さあ周回遅れ、マルティニを間に置いて2位3位の接近戦
ですから、この前年のチャンピオンマシンと互角な戦いができる、マシンになったっていうのも大きいですね。もちろんそれはウィリアムズもモノコックを、カーボンファイバーのモノコックに変えたというので合成が上がったっていうのもあるんですけどね。
さあ周回遅れをパスしながらというタイミングにはなってきました。ロズベルグが、そしてラウダが前に出ることができません。ここは短いホームストレート、
ちょうどあそこはホームストレートのエンドで、ラベリエっていうところの S なんですね。
一瞬ちょっとこれヒヤリとしましたけれども、その間に今度はラウダの後ろにアラン・プロストピタリとつきました。
ラウダにとっては非常に嫌な展開ですよね。しかもペース乱されましたからね、これで。
まだしかもその周回遅れのマルティニの前に立つことができないというラウダ、もどかしい思い。しかしさすがにこの長いストレートでまずラウダが前に出て、ここは一気にプロストも続いていきます。
車ミナルディ自体、車自体ミナルディであまり性能が良くないのもあるんですが、マルティニもまだ経験不足であまり良くなかったんですね。
再びこれでラウダにしてみればもう一度前を追いかけてというところです。さあ見えてきました。再びロズベルグの背中が見えてきました。今度はプロストまで引き連れてというマクラーレン2台対ウィリアムズ・ホンダ。
ものすごくケケにとっては、こう後ろに来られると嫌な感じの2人がいますよね。
本当に1人また加えちゃいましたからね、結果的には。
もう普通のドライバーだったらちょっとビビる2人ですよね。でもさすがにものすごいこう気の強い、心臓の強いケケですから、それぐらいのことは跳ね返すでしょうけども。
現在ネルソン・ピケ先頭、そして2位争いが白熱してきています。3台になりました。2位3位4。まずはラウダが挑んでいく。一旦周回遅れのパスの間、ロズベルグその差をつけましたけれども、再びラウダが差を縮めてきた。後ろにプロストがついてきている。 さあまた周回遅れかかるところで前に立つ
銀座にですねこれ。
そしてラウダもここはこの長いストレートを生かして続いていく。プロストも前に立ちます、
はい、銀座にがもうライン外して譲ってくれましたね、
この3台の顔ぶれ変わっていません。上位でしかしこれだけの本当にかなり接近しているとはいえ堂々の戦いを見せてきているというホンダエンジン。ここもまた試されるそんな瞬間を迎えています。
でさっきホンダのいいところいろいろと話しましたけれども、さらに例えばその冷却対策なんかもものすごく徹底してやったんだそうですね。それからあとはそのインジェクターを1気筒あたり今の F1 みんな2個ついてますけど、それもこの時にホンダが始めてるんですね。で要は燃料のこうインジェクターからパーッと霧吹きみたいに飛ばしますけど、その粒子をなるべく小さくしてより燃焼しやすくしてやる、でデータ管理もしっかりやらなきゃいけないというので、エンジンの走行中のデータを記録するデータロガーを装着してたんですね。で次の年からそれをピットに走行中に飛ばすテレメトリーというのを始めてるんですね。ですから本当にホンダがどんどん、F1 のエンジンの技術を大きく革新していく、その第一歩のあたりですね。この辺が
新しいことをしっかりと取り入れて確実に、そして一歩あたりを大きくというふうに前進してきているホンダの戦い、そんな姿を見て取ることができます。このレジェンズ
ベルフが抜かれましたね。
85年のレースシーンは第7戦フランス、
そしてその中で大きく遅れていったのがフェラーリだったんですね。
なるほど。
特にエレクトロニクス化というところで、フェラーリは大きく遅れを取ってしまったんですね。
ちょうどホンダの右肩上がりに対してフェラーリは低迷期に入っていくところですもんね。これね、
本当にチャンピオンの可能性が非常にあった年だったんですが、一番大きく足を引っ張る要因となったのがエレクトロニクス開発の遅れだったんですね。
そういった意味では今回予選3位からアルボレートはレース開始直後にリタイアという流れになっています。一方ロズベルグは今回ウィリアムズホンダポールポジションからのスタート、現在ネルソン・ピケに先を許しまして2番手を走行しておりますが、マクラーレンの追撃をここまでしのいでという戦いです。
そうですね。でこれ見てると、やっぱりマクラーレンフロントサスペンション新しく改良したものを投入して、このインフィールドというか、このツイスティな区間、ここは結構速いですよね。効果が出てますよね。
なるほど。
ところがこの後のストレートに入ってくると、今度はウィリアムズホンダが結構負けないんですよ。負けないどころかちょっと少し離してますもんね。
そうですね。ここで若干安心する直線。
そうなんですね。このフィーに超えるあたりまではまだマクラーレンホンダケケのいいところですね。ただこの後のボーセからまたツイスティになりますからね。
さあ一人旅ということになりましたが、ネルソン・ピケの方は先ほどこれパトレーゼをかわしてというところで今ピケが言っています。周回遅れにリカルド・パトレーゼ。
やっぱりそうですね、コーナー区間入ってくると詰まってきますよね。
ストレートが待ち遠しいという思いはロズベルグのドライビング、そしてラウダ・プロスト。プロストもしっかりとこれは前の2台を見ながらレース運び、シーズンここまで2勝をマークしているアラン・プロスト
ですからちょうど、ピケがもう8秒以上差をつけてるはずなんですが、ロズベルグ以下がこれちょうど、グッドイヤーグループなんですよね。
なるほど。逃げているピケのみがこれはピレリタイヤ。 非常に気温も上がってきている中、しかし風は強い、ポール・リカール
で、これちょっとコース脇に大広みたいな、今ここもこう出てきてますよね、画面、左側なんですが、あそこにガレージがあるんですよ、で当時はルノーの専用ガレージだったんです。ところがですね、現代はあれはトヨタ F1 チームの専用ガレージ。
なるほど、トヨタがこのコースを買い取って、
そうですね、現実的にはそのバーニーが、99年に買い取ったわけですけれども、それで、高速テストコースとして生まれ変わったわけですよね、HTTT かな、ハイテックテストトラックというそうですけども、で F1 もたまにやりますけど、あとは GP2 とか、いろんなカテゴリーのテストに使われますよね。180通りのパターンが取れるそうですよ、コースパターンが。
そうなんですか。
現在のポール・リカールは。でもロングコースっていうのの中のバリエーションの中には、このオリジナルコースに非常に近いものが残ってますね。
なるほどね。
でこの区間あたりが、フジテレビは87年から中継始めましたけれども、この区間あたりはもうその当時には使われていない、87年から使われてないところですね、86年からですね、使われてないところです。
そして実際の F1 のレースは90年までがここで行われ、それ以降が、今レースが行われているマニクールヒルズというフランスですね。
フランス、要はあそこが、当時政権を取ったミッテラン大統領と、ピエール・ベレゴボワ首相の地元、フランス社会党の地元だったんで持ってっちゃったんですね。ですからすごく政治的な判断だったんですよね。でポール・リカールさんは97年にお亡くなりになって、ご遺族が結局これをバーニーにサーキットを売ったわけですね。ただ大きい開催やるとなると、道路が1本しか、メイン道路が1本しかなくて、ゲートが1箇所ですから、非常に渋滞の問題とかいろいろとあったんですね。ですから、最終的には政治の問題とアクセスの問題で、ここはグランプリから、表舞台から消えていったわけですね。
そしてだいぶ前にピケがかわしていったパトレーゼに今度は2位争いの3台追いついてきました。あとパトレーゼをかわしていこうという2位争いの3台、まずはロズベルグ、
ファストトラップの表示ですね。
ネルソン・ピケがマークしています。完全にピケ一人旅というような様相になっています。
ちょっとパトレーゼが、後ろの3人にとっては邪魔な立場になっちゃってますね。一応、ミラー気にしてましたけどね、今の映像でも。何をやってもうまくいかないんですよね、アルファロメオは。エンジンの伝送系なんかもいろいろと変えたりしたんですが、
これはベルガーとマルティニですか。ゲルハルト・ベルガーとマルティニ、
結局マルティニ、さっきもラウダと危ないシーンがありましたけれども、あれの、延長みたいなもので、ベルガー巻き込んじゃったんですね。
そして今ようやくこのストレートエンドでもって3台がパトレーゼの前に立ちました。アルファロメオの前に立っています。
ですからワークスターボエンジンの中で、こんだけ差ついちゃってるわけですよね、アルファロメオは。
確かにこのシーズンの戦いぶりは厳しいですね。パトレーゼに至ってはカナダの10位完走1回あるのみで、他すべてリタイア、それからエディ・チーバーも、カナダ、それからアメリカで完走は果たしておりますけれども、もちろんノーポイント
ですからね。前も言いましたけど、パトレーゼは後に聞いたら、僕の人生最悪の時代っていうのはこのアルファロメオ時代。
そうですか。
でもこの後バーニーがブラバムに呼び戻してくれて、人生が好転した。だからバーニーは本当に僕にとって人生の恩人なんだって言うんですよね。
なるほどね。そういったターニングポイントで、
ですから最多出場記録ができたのも、それは あの時点でやめようと思ってたけど、バーニーが戻してくれたおかげなんだっていうんですよね。
なるほど。これでもうモチベーションなくした状態で本当にやめてしまう道というのもあったわけですね、じゃあね。
もともといろんな才能あった人ですから、ですから F1 以外のことやろうかなって考えたこともあったそうですね。
そんなパトレーゼを周回遅れにしました。いやー、しかしこの3台はまだまだ続いていきそうですね。後ろのマクラーレンも何かこう決め手に欠けていると言いますかね。
本当にその一つは燃費もあるんですけど、今回はタイヤが一番心配なんですね。で特にここが怖いわけですよ。マンセルがその事故を起こしたところで、そのストレートからほぼ全開で突っ込んでいく右コーナーで、左側のタイヤにものすごい負担がかかるんですね。ですから左側、特にマクラーレンなんですけれども、この2台とも負担の大きい左側の前後のタイヤに固めの A コンパウンドをつけてるんですね。で右側の前後には柔らかめの B コンパウンドをつけるんです。で前を走ってるこのケケなんですけれども、ウィリアムズは、フロント左右と右側のリアは柔らかめの B コンパウンド、そして一番負担のかかる、またマンセルがその事故の原因となった左のリアの部分、そこには固めの A コンパウンドをつけたんですね。ですから当時、今の F1 ですと4輪は1つのスペックで統一になるんですけど、当時の F1 はタイヤをいろいろとそのチョイスの中からどの右前はこうしよう、左はこうしようとか、そういうことはできたんですね。
いろんなこう可能性というのもね、
でもそれでもやっぱりピレリに対して今回のグッドイヤーはやっぱり差をつけられちゃったんですね。
逃げているネルソン・ピケに対して置かれた感じの2位争いでありますけれども、この接近状態が続いています。
それで実はマンセルの事故が起きた時に、やっぱりそれ B コンパウンドで事故が起きたんですが、それで燃料フル状態で走って左のリアがバーストしてこの先のところでクラッシュになったわけですけども、当初そのグッドイヤーはその B コンパウンド全部を引っ込めるかどうかっていう話にまで発展したんですね。ただグッドイヤー側はこの B コンパウンドは、中のコンストラクションも含めて今シーズンずっと使ってきたものだから、固有の問題という可能性はあるかもしれないけども、この事故固有の問題はあるかもしれないけれども、その全体として問題があるとは考えられないということになったので、結果的には B コンパウンドそのまま、実戦投入になったわけですね。
なるほどね。ロズベルグに対してマクラーレンの2台はラウダ・プロストですが、これがホームストレート。まだまだ続くかこの3台。ここはしぶとくロズベルグいきます。
でこのケケロズベルグとウィリアムズ・ホンダなんですけど、この翌々週にイギリスグランプリがあるわけですが、ここでポールポジションを取るんですよ。またポール取るんですけど、それが予選の平均速度、当時史上最高速度記録を出すんですね。
史上最速、
259.005 キロというスピードで、マイルにすると160マイルを軽く超えちゃったんですね。で F1 としては最高記録で、実は、予選ラップアタックして次のクールダウンラップが終わって、ピットに入ってくる前にもう車検の担当がウィリアムズ・ホンダのガレージに来てエンジン開けてみせろというふうになっちゃったんだそうですね。でも結局開けてみてもその違法性は全くないということが証明されて、いかにホンダエンジンがすごいかっていうのが分かったんですね。
なるほどね。
でもこの記録実は2005年のイタリアでモントーヤが、ウィリアムズ BMW で破るまで破られなかったんですよね。
10年にも及んだ記録になりますか。20年ですね。失礼しました。この次のイギリスですね、ロスベルグはね。でもこのレースでもポールを取ってという、そんなホンダパワーが徐々にこう世界を脅かしつつある時代。さあタグポルシェいけない。
チャンピオンマシンが攻められない、
さあそしてレース終わってしまっているアローズ BMW ではゲルハルト・ベルガーです。
典型的なベルガーの機嫌の悪い時の顔でしたね、もらい事故だったんでね、すごく腹立ってたでしょうね。
若さと機嫌の悪さは別ですからね、これはね。
しかもこのコースっていうのは BMW の4キロにとっては非常に可能性のあるコースだったんで、パワー勝負ですからね。でこの年までは良かったんですが、だんだんとその下級制限、この年それから86年まではまあなんとかなったんですけど、燃費制限、下級制限が厳しくなるに従って、4気筒は辛くなっていったんですね。
さあここは一番差を詰めたか、このストレート。ラウダ、ロスベルグに対して、そしてホンダエンジンに対して揺さぶりかけたのもコーナー手前まで。さあそしてその間にプロストもラウダとの差を一気に縮めました。
あわよくばうまくこの2人のバトルを利用してやろうっていう、
そんな今プロストの動きでもありましたね。さあしかし結局オーダー変わらないまま
ですから豪華ですよね。この年はまだプロスト、今この時点ではチャンピオンじゃないんですが、
まだチャンピオンになってませんがね、
トップのピケといい、
さあそしてもう一度ラウダ、
ちょっと今膨らんじゃいましたからね、敵が。
そしてラウダも油断をしていると、後ろにはプロスト。見応えのあるこの 1,2 周です。
チャンピオンたちの戦いっていう感じですもんね。
まさにそうですよね。まだまだしかしプロフェッサープロストもいろんなことを先輩から吸収してやろうというような、そんな走りにも見えます。そしてノズベルグ対ニキ・ラウダ、どんな形で終わりを迎えるんでしょうか、この2台のバトル。
またミストラルで、ミストラル手前で詰めてますから、
詰めてますね。さあ迎えた 1.6 キロに及ぶというロングストレート。ここでラウダ、先ほどと同じようにピタリと後ろについたのか、どうなのか、ダメか。いやまだ行く、ついていくが、それでもしかしです。
でその高速のフィーニュっていうところが、この一つ手前のところですけども、ストレートエンドはあそこは本当にドライバーの度胸を試すところなんですよね。そういう点ではケケはもう、負けないですよね。
ケケロズベルグ動じることなく前だけを見。
Ricard circuit near Marseille started just about an hour ago. Let's go over now and join our commentator Murray Walker.
Lap 29 in this 53-lap French Grand Prix, searingly hot. Nelson Piquet leading by 16 seconds from this scintillating scrap, which has been going on for lap after lap after lap between Keke Rosberg in the Williams Honda, who led but was passed by Nelson Piquet, who then had the world champion Niki Lauda close up on him in third position, behind whom was Alain Prost in fourth place. And that's exactly what the situation is now. Leading Piquet, second Rosberg, third Lauda, fourth Prost, fifth De Angelis, sixth Sura, seventh Tombay, eighth Johansson, ninth Boots.
Yes, Keke Rosberg started very impressively, but what we knew, there's Elio De Angelis, who is in fifth place. Right, he got a little bit of a misfire with his engine. He's driving very steadily as usual. And here is the battle. And Lauda is now having a go. Now, Rosberg started well, but we knew that he was going to be quick early on because he took the softer compound tyre. He took a little bit of a gamble to get a stickier tyre. And after a while, when things settled down, he didn't seem as quick. And it's in the corners that he's having trouble. He hasn't quite got the grip that he should have with the softer tyre. And first of all, Piquet passed him, but he couldn't pass him on the straight because the Williams Honda is very fast in a straight line. Piquet passed him right in the middle of a double right-hand corner with the one that they've just gone through 2 corners ago. And the 2 McLarens then came up behind Rosberg. They're being held up, of that there is no doubt at all, by Keke Rosberg, but he's being entirely fair. And really, they've been climbing all over the back of him for some 20 laps now, and are a little bit flummoxed. What Lauda, I think, a slightly bolder approach might do something, and Prost is now having and Lauda's blown up. So Lauda, poor Niki Lauda, he's having a wretched season. He's finished only one race this year, but this might liven things up, because I have to say I back Prost to deal with Rosberg more effectively than I would have rated Niki Lauda. So Niki Lauda out of the race, sad thing for him, because that's one of the best races he's had this season, and once again mechanical failure has taken him out. But of course that's motor racing. He's been around well long enough to know that, and I'm quite sure that he'll walk away reasonably happy with a good day's work, although a bit frustrated that he couldn't finally find a way around Rosberg.
Which means to say that this man, Elio De Angelis, or rather that man, moves up into 4th position, and this gives Alain Prost the opportunity to try and saw the gearbox of Keke Rosberg's Williams Honda in half with the nose of his McLaren, and they're closing up on, it looks like Alio or Winkelhock from the quick look that I had there, and up into the right-hander, but Rosberg is going through, still in 2nd position with Prost up to 3rd.
Yes, he didn't quite make it. It's Winkelhock who is in front of him. He didn't make it that time. But, of course, the problem for Prost, and previously for Lauda, Prost very close now, is that whilst being held up by Rosberg, Nelson Piquet has quietly crept ahead into what is now a very substantial lead of some 17 or 18 seconds. And with back markers in front of them that he's already dealt with, this could increase. So Prost has got to get past Rosberg very soon if he's going to give the leader, Nelson Piquet, a proper run for his money, because we're beginning to... the mathematics are beginning to get bad. We've only got just over 20 laps to go. That was Niki Lauda back in his garage explaining what fun and games it all was out there. And Rosberg trying to get through. Oh dear. And Winkelhock, as usual. Of course, Winkelhock runs in blinkers. You must remember that.
And it's given Keke Rosberg the opportunity to make a bit of a break, because Winkelhock was holding up Alain Prost, and now on lap 32, Nelson Piquet, of whom we have seen hardly anything in this race, such has been the excitement of this battle for 2nd position between Rosberg, Lauda and Prost, and now Rosberg and Prost, and you're looking now at Rosberg and Prost going through, and Winkelhock blocking Prost.
Yes, you see they... he's being lapped, you really have to look in your mirrors and let the quicker cars through. But as I say, of course, it is a problem with Winkelhock, because he gets a little bit freshish before going into the stalls if they don't put blinkers on him. And so I suppose it's a difficult problem. So he has tunnel vision and drives like that, a bit like the Minardi man that we saw earlier, who managed to take Berger off, who was having an extremely good race, and therefore, I would imagine, is proportionately extremely angry.
Well, while you look at this battle for 2nd position between Keke Rosberg and Alain Prost on lap 33 out of 53, the race order is Piquet leading, an ever-increasing lead. It's now some 19 seconds. Rosberg 2nd, Prost 3rd. There they are. De Angelis once again in the points, as he has been in every Grand Prix this year, in 4th position. Mark Surer in the 2nd Pirelli-shod Brabham BMW is in his best place since he joined the Brabham team this year, 5th. Patrick Tambay for Renault is 6th. Staffan Johansson, who had a dreadful practice in the Ferrari, is 7th. 8th is Thierry Boutsen. 9th is Warwick, who's been into the pits. In 10th position is Martin Brundle, driving for the first time in a Renault-powered Turbo Tyrrell. Niki Lauda you've seen go into the pits and out of the race rather, and out of the race also are Ayrton Senna, Berger, Martini, Jonathan Palmer, Michele Alboreto, Andrea De Cesaris and Jacques Lafitte. And the leaders have lapped everybody up to Martin Brundle, who is in 10th position. Niki Lauda, by the way, we've just had a message from the pits, from the McLaren pit, went out with gearbox trouble. He was having some problems in practice, and it's clearly struck again, and this obviously isn't Niki Lauda's year, and the chances of him being world champion again for the fourth time by doing in 1985 what he did in 1984, are, to put it mildly, remote, with only one finish. Nelson Piquet, by the way, who misses his engine as he changes up as he goes through the lap, is lapping in about 1 minute 44.5 seconds, compared with the lap record of 1 minute 40 held by Riccardo Patrese. And into the pits has gone Martin Brundle, as over the line to complete their 33rd lap go Rosberg and Prost, with Prost really having a go now.
Yeah, it's a funny old race in a way, because I strongly suspect that Nelson Piquet has already cut back his boost and has got the car tuned down as much as possible, and is driving to Rosberg's pace. And of course Rosberg is really holding Prost up badly. So if only Prost can get past Rosberg, I have a sneaking feeling that things could come alive, but it must be soon, because otherwise Piquet is going to have too big a lead, because he's increasing the lead and we're running out of laps.
Yes, if I accuse the French producer of favouring Alain Prost, I'll probably incur the wrath of France. But the fact is that we've seen nothing of a superb drive by Nelson Piquet, who is now 20 seconds ahead, as once again Alain Prost looks alongside Keke Rosberg's Williams Honda, and that's all he does do, because Keke Rosberg, driving scrupulously and fairly, shuts the door in his face, holds that second position, and meantime Nelson Piquet, more or less coasting round by his standards, 1 minute 45 approximately, is consolidating his lead. And it's Piquet leading, Rosberg second, Prost third, De Angelis fourth, and on his way to take the lead in the World Championship again, with Michele Alboreto out of the race, provided that is De Angelis finishes. Mark Surer fifth. Torbay is in sixth position and catching him fast, and hopefully we'll have a look at it as you see Ayrton Senna being interviewed, having gone out of the race. Catching Torbay fast is Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari, who started way down in 15th place on the grid. Let's identify for you where Rosberg and Prost are on this tremendously fast, some 140 miles an hour was the pole position speed of Keke Rosberg, who's holding that second place as they go round the wiggly bit on the infield before leading out onto the very, very fast, enormously long. They hold top speed in sixth gear for about 20 seconds on this long Mistral straight, with Piquet now 20.3 seconds ahead of Rosberg. You see Prost right behind him, then De Angelis, Surer and Torbay. And how the Honda technicians have mightily worked, and to very good purpose.
Prost having a look here, but Rosberg, the trouble is Rosberg, having been passed there once by Piquet, was keeping it very tight through that double right-hander. Now, can Prost get inside him? But Rosberg is very slow. Go on, Prosty! No, he had a go then, but that really isn't an overtaking point. Now, Rosberg, as I say, is blocking the point quite rightly where Piquet got him, and he's so quick in a straight line. I think all he has to do is just get it geographically right through the corners so that Prost can't pass him, and then squirt it down the straights. And believe you me, following a car like that is an absolute nightmare, because you have to work extra hard to be close enough all the time to try and force a mistake. And conversely, of course, although I'm sure Rosberg is frustrated because he hasn't got the grip he wants, he's not very quick through the corners. It is a wonderful luxury when you've got the car that's unpassable on the straight, so all you have to do is block in the corners and then floor your right foot and make sure you don't miss a gear or make an error.
Down to the first gear, Le Cole corner, up into third, up into Saint-Baume, then the sweeping left-hander which leads into the Mistral straight again, and there they go, and up into sixth gear, foot absolutely flat, coming towards us, and they're generating some 750 to 800 horsepower in race trim now, these 1.5-litre turbocharged engines, the V6 Honda, and I was saying how mightily the Honda technicians have worked to get that engine right. it was an engine which produced all its power in one enormous lump all of a sudden, which made it an absolute pig to drive, or the car an absolute pig to drive. But now they seem to have retained the power and flattened out the torque curve, as a result of which the car is easier to drive. And Keke Rosberg, one of the top 4 Grand Prix drivers in the world today, is certainly making the most of it. And one of the others of that 4 is Alain Prost, making the most of his TAG Porsche-designed engine. That's another V6. Very, very evenly matched. Now, this is the end of the 37th lap, and Piquet now is pacing himself magnificently at the front. 19.8, 19.7, now 19.9 seconds is his lead over this battle for second.
Yes, luxurious situation for Nelson Piquet. I'm quite sure that he will have turned down his boost and shouldn't have a fuel problem, because he's really just driving to Rosberg's pace behind. The only thing that could spoil that plan is if Prost got past. And quite frankly, the way things are and the relative performance of these 2 cars, I don't think that Prost is going to get past unless he can force a mistake out of Rosberg. And Rosberg's experienced enough to know that that's the only thing he mustn't do. He doesn't have to drive fast to hold on to second place, because, as I say, he can go slowly around the corners as long as he's in the right position without a mistake, and then squirt it down the straight. So, very frustrating for Alain Prost. I think the one chance he might have is in the double right-hander, not this one they're going into now, but the next one, where Piquet passed him. I think that Prost might be able to have a little stab around the outside, because Keke's holding it in very tight to prevent what happened to him courtesy of Piquet. Well, he nearly left the hole then, and Prost looking, because after this right-left wiggle into the left-hander is really there isn't room to nip inside. Prost looked at it a couple of times. Now we go down this, it's a straight, it's flat out here, and then they brake hard and they turn left. Now Rosberg made a little bit of a mistake there about 10-15 laps ago and nearly let Lauda through, and Prost, who was right on top of them both, but it wasn't to be.
And now the gap between Piquet and Rosberg is 21 seconds. We were given a subliminal look at Elio De Angelis a little while ago, after we temporarily moved away from Rosberg and Prost here. Elio De Angelis is still holding on in that 4th position. He's 15 seconds behind this battle for second between Rosberg and Prost, but on his way. And Rosberg locks up momentarily the right front tyre. I'll say again rather, that remind you that Rosberg is on softer compound, B compound tyres, and there is De Angelis in 4th place, who's been as consistent in the Lotus team as Senna has had bad luck.
And that little mistake from Keke Rosberg allowed Prost to come onto the main straight, very well placed, but you see the problem he's got with the straight line speed. He's right in the toe, he should be being sucked along, and he's just not there. The Williams has that big an advantage down the straight. Now, he's close now, and this is a point on the circuit where Rosberg really is very slow indeed. The trouble is, Prost can't go any quicker because he can't really drive through him. He's got to find a way round him, and Rosberg is quite justifiably filling the whole track. So now, down the sort of right-handed straight, and then into the left-hander. And now Prost is well placed, and Rosberg's another corner he's had trouble with. Can he get round to the right of him into the hairpin? No, he can't.
They've just lapped Farby, who is in 10th position, going well in the Tolman. And with Piquet leading 21 seconds, Rosberg and Prost second and third.
Yes, and the speed with which Farby caught them through the twist. And Prost has got it. Finally. Alain Prost at long last. Now I anticipate Prost to pull plenty of space pretty quickly, but with only just over 10 laps left to go, here he is. Prost jumped. You think he caught Rosberg a little bit by surprise there and just ducked inside him. Now, we've better get our calculations going pretty quickly to see what Alain Prost has got to do to catch Nelson Piquet.
Well, he's got to carve into a 21-second gap, but with Prost having taken that second place, I'll tell you that there's a change down the leaderboard to the disadvantage of Patrick Tournbay, who was in 6th position. There is the race leader. The new 6th place man, by the way, let me hastily finish that point, is Stefan Johansson. And Nelson Piquet. Now we can enjoy the style and the speed of the 1981-83 world champion Nelson Piquet, leading by 21 seconds.
Well, so Nelson Piquet coming around to complete another lap. Now, hopefully his Brabham team will know already, because they will have seen it on their TV monitor, and they should be signalling him immediately that Prost is now his pursuer. There it is on the caption, 21.71 seconds, and that was at the last time they crossed the start-finish line. We'll probably get some more information as they cross it again, or in fact I think Murray's taking the gap himself now. I dare say it's changed, and believe you me, the pace of this race should now hot up significantly, and the gap is, Nelson is cruising along, and already Prost pulled 3 seconds on him. It's 21 seconds is the gap, just under 21. But as I say, Piquet should now know that Prost is behind, and he will also know enough to know that he was being held up, and he will be expecting Prost to go a lot quicker. Now 19.
Yes, and it bears saying again, because the Pirelli technicians have worked so hard to get their product right, that they seem to have done it. Pirelli were known to have a good race compound tyre for fast circuits and poor qualifiers. They've worked on the qualifiers, as a result of which Nelson Piquet started from 5th position on the grid, and in the race tyre condition for the warm-up this morning, he was 3rd fastest. And now the Pirelli race compound has really come up trumps, because Piquet has held that lead consistently all the way from the 11th lap, and he's now on his 40th lap. Prost can eat into his lead, but Nelson Piquet, experienced a tactician as he is, because after all this is his 101st Grand Prix, of which he has won 12 and scored some 216 World Championship points, and experienced a tactician as he is, he will be able to watch Gordon Murray's signals. There is Alain Prost starting his 41st lap. The French crowd here, I need hardly say, are starting to get a bit aerated. Nelson Piquet pressing pretty hard, and Rosberg going into the pits. Keke Rosberg into the pits on this, the 40th lap, the end of.
And this must be a tyre stop. Yes, I'm sure they were expecting him. And Rosberg going for an emergency set. Of course, that'll be the soft V's again. Looked reasonably quick and efficient, and a bit of a wheelie, gets the rears nice and warm. Just over 10 seconds for Rosberg, so he won't have lost too much. Rosberg, well, he should be pretty close to De Angelis now that he's rejoined. He was 13 seconds or thereabouts in front of De Angelis. He'll be behind him because, of course, 10 seconds stationary, you lose a lot more decelerating and accelerating.
You look at the race leader, Nelson Piquet, the gap down to 17.5 seconds. It's lap 41. It's a 53-lap race. Prost is second. Keke Rosberg has held that 3rd position with a lightning pit stop for all 4 tyres to be changed onto another set of Bs, no doubt. In 4th position, it's still De Angelis. Mark Schurer is 5th, and Johansson is catching him in 6th place in the Ferrari.
So simple arithmetic over the first couple of laps that Prost has been the leading pursuer, says that Alain Prost will catch Nelson Piquet. However, the story is unlikely to be that simple. He's catching him at 2.5 seconds a lap, and there are 11 to go, and he's 17 behind. So simple arithmetic says he'll catch him easily. But I suspect that Piquet is still keeping something in reserve. He wants to watch that gap and see just how Prost is performing, and then match his performance accordingly. He's too experienced to panic into just going absolutely flat out and turning his boost right up at the moment. It's now 15 or just under 15.5 seconds. He's catching very fast indeed. But of course, he's faced with the other problem that we've seen that the McLaren is not as quick in the straight line as the Brabham on several occasions, and here we've already seen it in the race, although they haven't been beside each other at any point. We've seen it by comparing their relative performances with the Williams Honda, and the Brabham was definitely able to stay with it better than the McLarens. Therefore, Prost could well catch Nelson Piquet, but he's got to pass him as well, and that's going to be difficult.
New third place man, probably because Keke Rosberg is still speeding up on his new tyres. Elio De Angelis in the JPS Lotus has moved up into third position, and if he stays there, will have taken the lead in the World Championship at the end of this race from Michele Alboreto, and it's Piquet leading. Prost in second place, De Angelis in third position, Rosberg is fourth, Mark Surer in the second Brabham BMW is fifth, in sixth position it is Johansson, seventh is Patrick Tambay, in eighth position it is Derek Warwick, who has been into the pits, ninth is Thierry Boutsen, and here is the race leader. Yes, and my mental arithmetic is a bit suspect. I can see that Elio De Angelis is on 4 points at the present moment. He will be a lot closer to Michele Alboreto. He would have 28 to Alboreto's 31. Alboreto not scoring in this race, of course, because he went out very early on in the proceedings. But the proceedings now, as far as everybody here is concerned, and the big French crowd especially, is the question of whether Alain Prost is carving into Nelson Piquet's lead fast enough. There's 10 laps to go, including the one that they are on. Alain Prost must be the fastest man on the circuit. Stefan Beloff there in the Tyrrell is being caught and about to be lapped again by Piquet, who's just going through there. And Mark Surer has gone into the pits, was in fifth position. So that means to say that Stefan Johansson, when he comes through, should go up into fifth place. Patrick Tambay back into sixth position. And that is the Brabham of Mark Surer blasting out with Gordon Murray and Charlie Whiting, the team manager and chief mechanic of the Brabham team, walking away as he does so. And this, number 7, 1981 world champion, 1983 world champion, the man who had the team manager's decision as the best driver of 1982, Nelson Piquet, completing his 43rd lap, passing Stefan Beloff. And here is Prost completing his lap. So it's Piquet, Prost, De Angelis. The gap is 15.6 seconds. A lot of crossed fingers here at Paul Ricard, particularly from Mario Mezzanotte, the Pirelli race technician, and there significantly is someone pointing out tyre surface.
Yes, it looked as if there was a lateral cut in that tyre, which is rather an odd thing, but anyway, that's not relevant to what's going on out on the track. Now, so Nelson Piquet, I get the feeling now, has got this race pretty much under control. Prost is catching him, but not as quickly as he did in the first 2 or 3 laps of the clear run. And it looks to me very much as if Piquet is going to be able to handle this. Prost might yet. I was just looking back down the track to see if they were in visual contact yet, but not yet. And Rosberg has come out and put up fastest lap, which is only to be expected, because remember, he is on a new set of soft compound tyres, so that would always make the car very quick. And in so doing, he's overtaken De Angelis back into third place. So Rosberg's gamble on a tyre change was quite correct, and the team turned him around well, so although he lost his third place for a while, it was fairly short-lived.
Lap 45, Alain Prost is now 13.2 seconds behind this man, the race leader Nelson Piquet, of whom we've seen so little in the past, but we're going to see a lot now, because the race is definitely between double world champion Nelson Piquet and never world champion, this man, the one in the only McLaren left in the race, Alain Prost. Niki Lauda out, of course. Rosberg is really flying now. He's passed De Angelis up into third position that he had held before. De Angelis down to fourth. Stefan Johansson is in fifth place. Mark Sura is in sixth position. Derek Warwick is in seventh place. And here, that was Piquet. And now we look at the man who is the quickest man on the circuit, but still not a lap record, because Keke Rosberg's 1 minute 40.4 was 0.4 of a second off the lap record put up by Riccardo Patrese. Here's Piquet. Past the Ram, and it's Piquet leading. Prost second, Rosberg third, De Angelis fourth, Johansson fifth, Tournbase sixth, Warwick seventh, Sura eighth, and they are the only ones that have not been lapped, because Farby, who is ninth, has been lapped by Piquet. Boutsen is 10th, Patrese is 11th, Cheever is in 12th position, Winkelhock is 13th, and then the others are virtually out of the race as over the line goes Nelson Piquet. Here is Alain Prost. I remind you that the gap was 13.2 seconds. I've got my stopwatch running, and as Prost goes over the line, to the cheers of the French spectators, the gap is down by another 2 seconds. 11 seconds now separates the leader here, Nelson Piquet, and Alain Prost, who is in second position, and they have completed 45 laps in this 53-lap race. 7 laps to go, including the one that they are on. Prost catching Bellof. Nelson Piquet, I say again, knows exactly what the position is. We don't know whether he's going as hard as he can. I suspect he isn't. The new Pirelli race tyre will still be a bit of an unknown quantity to him, and he won't be wanting to press it any harder than he's got to.
Yeah, what he'll do, Murray, he'll turn his boost down, right, and he'll be driving as hard as he possibly can, because that's to save the fuel, and because if the tyre's gone this long, it's not going to stop now unless he's in tyre trouble, because with there's much less heat build-up as the tyre gets warm, there's less rubber on it, and of course less weight in the car with less tank. So he won't have any fears about tyres now. His fears will be directed entirely at fuel consumption, and I suspect that he's pacing himself to Prost with the boost turned well down and maybe using less revs on the engine.
On his way to his 13th Grand Prix win, with Alain Prost there chasing him hard, Nelson Piquet. Prost has got ahead of Manfred Winkelhock. The gap now is 11.4 seconds, so Prost did not gain anything on Piquet in that lap. Piquet back in the points again with a vengeance. A dreadful 1984 Nelson Piquet had. Well, I say dreadful. He won 2 races, but well down in the championship by his standards, and this year has been even worse. And Alain Prost has won 17 Grand Prix, so often the bridesmaid as far as the World Championship is concerned, but never the bride, if you see what I mean. I don't think he'd be too pleased to hear me say that. There goes Boutsen, and here is Rosberg. And now we have got a new lap record. 1:39.9 for Keke Rosberg is a new lap record, and that's some consolation. And the gap between Prost and Rosberg is some 23 seconds. So unless Prost has trouble, there's no likelihood of Keke Rosberg finishing higher than 4 points for third position. But that will be very welcome to add to the 12 points he's already got for 12th position. And the battle for World Championship leadership between Michele Alboreto out of this race and Elio De Angelis, who's going strong in 4th place, will be heightened if De Angelis can just finish. And he hasn't got far to go. 6 laps, including this one. Now, Nelson Piquet crosses the line again. Now he is on his 48th lap. Here is Prost coming into the right-hander at Pont. 10.4 seconds. Lap 48. Nelson Piquet there, leading Alain Prost by 10.5 seconds. Rosberg third, De Angelis fourth, Johansson in fifth place, and Tombé sixth.
Yes, well, Nelson Piquet has now clearly demonstrated to both us spectators and to Alain Prost that he's well in control of the race. That, of course, is always assuming that he's all right for fuel and other potential mechanical problems, but he has responded just rather cruel for Prost, really, because Prost was hauling him in hand over fifth, and then just when he might have been starting to get a bit excited and think Piquet was in a bit of trouble, Piquet played the waiting game, let him bring the gap hurtling down from 20 seconds to 11, and then said, right, that's enough, I'll now show you, Alain Prost, and he has speeded up accordingly and giving it 100% through the corners, because that will help the quicker you can get through the corner, the less power you need down the straight, as it were, to maintain the same overall lap time. So, and now you see Nelson Piquet class driving, giving it, using every inch of the road, and really taking that left-hander that we had a good shot of very smoothly, very elegantly indeed. Remember, of course, these drivers are getting pretty tired now. They've got cockpit temperatures of some probably 130, 140 degrees Fahrenheit in there. They're wearing great big thick heavy overalls which are now completely full of sweat, and so they've had a jolly hard day's work, and they will all be thinking very hard of stopping the car, getting out and getting some liquid down them.
Well, Piquet doesn't want to relax too much, because as you see, the gap is down to 9.8 seconds. 4 laps to go, including the one that they're on. But of course, as we know from watching Lauda and Prost earlier in this race, right with Keke Rosberg, but not able to get past him, no matter how hard they tried and where they tried. Catching is sometimes not too difficult. Getting past a car that has got a virtually identical performance and a driver of equal ability in front of you can be virtually impossible. And Nelson Piquet, there he is, surely is not going to make things easy for Alain Prost, even if the Frenchman in the red and white Marlboro McLaren catches the Brabham BMW. Nelson Piquet then on his 49th lap. A man who lives in Monte Carlo, who came over from Brazil so many years ago now, and dominated the British BP Formula 3 Championship in 1978. The man who is an accomplished pilot, who loves nothing more than getting away between races in his magnificent powerboat. An accomplished car tester. He's driven for Ensign, for McLaren. This is his 8th year with Brabham. He has a unique rapport with Gordon Murray, the Brabham designer, and the two of them have forged an absolutely magnificent partnership and won race after race and 2 world championships. Lap 50 is the one that they are on now. The gap is 10.6 seconds. So, as James has said, Piquet knows exactly what the score is. Piquet is controlling things from the front. He's watching his lap signals and he's driving tactically. And there is Prost. And I don't suppose for one moment Prost, who's a very doughty little fighter, third in the World Championship when this race started, and he's going to have 28 points, which will be his score if he finishes in second position. And that would actually move him up into second place in the World Championship ahead of Elio De Angelis. But it's still early days from that point of view. A lot can still happen.
Yes, I think by now, Prost, Piquet having kindly demonstrated that he's absolutely fine up front and was only toying with Prost and responded to his efforts, I strongly suspect, therefore, that Prost has taken the hint and will now be taking it fairly carefully to make absolutely certain that he runs healthily to the line for second place, still with the outside chance, of course, that Piquet could run out of fuel or have some other drama before the line. But I would think that the right tactics now for Alain Prost were to abandon the chase of Nelson Piquet and to consolidate his second place, but just be around to pick up any pieces if things go wrong for Piquet.
Piquet is on lap 51 out of 53. Catching Piercarlo Ghinzani, he is going to lap the Italian in the Osella as Alain Prost goes through and completes his lap. The gap is 9.8 seconds, so it really is virtually identical. Alain Prost is not making any significant inroads into the brilliant Nelson Piquet's lead. And we've got a wonderful situation. It's been an absolutely superb 1985 because we've had McLaren winning in Brazil. Then we had Lotus winning, the JPS Lotus winning in Portugal. Then we had the JPS Lotus winning again in San Marino, McLaren again in Monaco. Nothing happened in Belgium, of course, although many of you will know it's now to be held on September the 15th. Then we had the first Ferrari victory of 1985, Alboreto at Montreal. Then the Williams victory in Detroit. So in 6 races so far, we've had 4 different constructors winning, and it looks as though this is going to be the 5th, with Brabham winning their first race of the year. Nelson Piquet now on his 51st lap still. Not very far to go before he completes that, riding very wide as he goes round the curve. Piquet, this will be to complete his 51st lap. The gap was 10 seconds. There he goes into the right-hander, now into the straight which leads up to the Verrerie bends, as Alain Prost comes into my sight and very shortly into yours. There he is. The gap between Piquet and Prost, who completes the lap, and the leader is now on his last lap but one, is down slightly, but not significantly, to 8.55 seconds. Piquet. This will be a magnificent victory for the Brazilian, 32 years old, and an enormous fillip, and hats off to them for all their endeavour, to Pirelli, with whom Bernie Ecclestone, the head man of the Brabham team, took an inspired gamble at the beginning of this year. He, at that time, signed what was to be an exclusive tyre deal with Pirelli before Michelin pulled out. And then there was the bombshell when Michelin, who had been so successful and dominated the World Championship last year as a tyre manufacturer, withdrew from racing. And Pirelli took a long time to get their act together. They look as though they've done it. They've got a qualifier that's working well, not quite well enough. But we've always known or thought that they had a good race tyre. They're certainly proving it today. And don't forget that we're going on to a series of fast races. Silverstone in a fortnight's time, tremendously quick. The Austrian Grand Prix at the magnificent Österreich ring, very quick indeed. Monza at Italy, very quick indeed. And now it's Nelson Piquet leading on lap 52 out of 53.
So here comes Nelson, just coming up to the start-finish line. There is the start man with a finger up to show him he's got 1 lap to go, as if he didn't know, but that's traditional. And there is Prost, just embarking also on his last lap. But as Barry was just saying, this really is quite an important event in Grand Prix racing. It's Pirelli's first win coming up, and it's very good for the sport. It's not a healthy situation when there's one tyre manufacturer having to supply all the teams and dominating, and it's taken Pirelli really a most impressively short time to get to this situation. But the start of the season when Brabham joined them, they really were not very competitive. They've shown us what they can do. The big change has been a new front tyre that they produced for this meeting, and apparently has made a difference fully of at least a second a lap around here, and there are high hopes in the Pirelli camp, and of course it's very good to see a top team like Brabham's back on the rostrum. Obviously this is only one win, and we've got a long way to go before we can say that Brabham stroke Pirelli are fully competitive everywhere, but certainly this is a great step in the right direction, and very good for Grand Prix racing, and good for Nelson. It's not nice seeing top-line drivers like Nelson being shoveled off into the wings and the sidelines, and there he is, giving it a little bit of a slide, a little exuberance for fun. I can assure you that was for the crowd. So well done Nelson, and well done Prost, a good race.
And here is the Brazilian on his way to his 13th Grand Prix win, and that'll get his tail and Brabham's and Pirelli's very high indeed. Nelson Piquet wins the French Grand Prix. Alain Prost will be second. Keke Rosberg will be third. We don't know who will be fourth because De Angelis, who is fourth, has got Johansson closing right up on him. Tombay should be sixth. Then, assuming that happens, Alboreto will lead the World Championship by 3 points from Alain Prost second, De Angelis third, Rosberg in fourth position, Stefan Johansson fifth, and Patrick Tombay sixth after a really stirring and significant French Grand Prix.
13勝目のチェッカーフラッグでした。
これ 4位争い。
さあそしてデアンジェリス、後ろから差を縮めていく。前を行くのはヨハンソン。4位5位も白熱しています。さあこれも最後の最後までわからないんでしょうか。なんとかヨハンソン4位でチェッカー、5位でデアンジェリス。
そうなんですね。
フェラーリ対ロータス。
ヨハンソンちょっと体調悪かったんですよね。
はい。1985年第7戦フランスグランプリ決勝結果です。ネルソン・ピケが見事な優勝を予選5位から飾りました。ポールスタートのロズベルグ、最後の最後プロストをかわして2位表彰台、3位にアラン・プロスト、そして4位ヨハンソンと続いていきます。でアンジェリスが5位で終わりました。以下ご覧の結果になっています。結局ロズベルグファステストラップ獲得です、はい、ということでしたけれども、ご覧になって感想を伺いましょうか。
ピケはですね、84年の6月のデトロイト以来勝ってなかったんですよね。でピレリはそのご指摘通り、もう長いこと勝ってなかった、ですから本当にこのまさかの優勝っていう感じでしたよね。
ということになりますね。そしてドライバーズポイントではアルボレートリタイアしてしまいましたから、アンジェリス、プロストでもって追いかけていくシーズン。フェラーリはトップですけれども、ちょっと今回のこの戦いぶり見ているとどうなんでしょうか。ロータス、マクラーレン、ウィリアムズと続いていきます。
いやでも本当にね、7戦、このシーズン今この時点で7戦目なんですが、優勝者6人もいるんですよね。ですから2回勝ってるのがプロストだけっていうことなので、ものすごくこう接戦と混戦の年ですよね。
ということで、どんな風にまだこれね、夏のヨーロッパラウンド始まったばかりですから、この後のイギリス、ドイツ、オーストリアまで高速バトルは続いていくと、いうことになりますね。
あとはね、ホンダがすごく調子が上がってきたっていうのが、これではっきり分かりますよね。
ロズベルグはなんといっても前回のデトロイトが優勝、そして今回は予選でポールを獲得して、最後ピットストップ、タイヤ交換を行っての2位というのは非常に光りましたね。
本当そうですね、
これからの戦いぶりというのも注目していきたいと思います。表彰台の中央でここまでセナにばかり脚光がいったというブラジル人ですが、ネルソン・ピケが立っています。解説は小倉重則さんでした。どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
ご覧いただきました1985年 F1 第7戦フランスはネルソン・ピケの優勝でした。